Spin in. Good.
I did it?
Yes.
Grandma, I spun without hurting anyone.
Hi everyone, it's LadyJenevia. Today we're going to be talking about one of the greatest cinematic masterpieces of all time, The Princess Diaries.
Me? A princess? Shut up!
I thought long and hard about how to best reintroduce myself as a content creator related to the world of film and television content, and what better way to do that than to revisit this iconic classic that I happen to find very relatable. So let's begin. The Princess Diaries is a 2001 film directed by Garry Marshall, who is also famously known for directing Pretty Woman and Runaway Bride. Whitney Houston was also one of the film's producers. If you didn't know Whitney dabbled in producing, where have you been? Queen Whitney would also go on to produce the film's sequel, as well as the first two Cheetah Girls films. So it's no wonder all these films were full of girl power and great soundtracks. The film was adapted from Meg Cabot's novel of the same name, but changed the original setting of New York City to San Francisco. This detail was one of the pillars of my being able to latch onto this film in my youth, as I spent plenty of time in San Francisco, and my mum will have my head if I don't point out that these extras, yeah, we knew them personally. You see this rock climbing gym by the Golden Gate Bridge? We've been there. There's many little nods in the film that make it highly relatable to anyone that's lived in or spent a sufficient amount of time in San Francisco and knows its vibes.
Oh, be careful. Please don't crush my soy nuts.
Your soy nuts are safe.
He's not pierced, tattooed, or hair plugged. Do you realize how rare a find that is south of Market Street?
Strange town, San Francisco. When I purchased the pumps, I asked if I wanted them wrapped or if I wanted to wear them.
I know it's the fastest way back to the consulate, but I hate this hill.
The Princess Diaries introduced Anne Hathaway to the wider public and proved to be her breakout role. In rewatching this film as an adult, one of the things that I picked up on was how severely underrated Anne Hathaway is as a comedic actress. Nowadays, she's developed a lot of credibility as a dramatic actress, but in Princess Diaries, she had me busting up laughing repeatedly. Whether it's the delivery of her lines or her physicality, Anne Hathaway more than proved her skills at triggering my hysterical bouts of laughter, and in the more serious moments made her a really relatable protagonist.
Somebody sat on me again. I don't want to be a princess!
Just in case I'm not enough of a freak already, let's add a tiara. You know, most kids hope for a car for their 16th birthday, not a country.
He's my neighbor, but you wouldn't want to meet him. He doesn't have very nice manners.
Dancing? Oh, just normal kind, you know, like, bounce.
I see.
Is this punishment for driving without a licensed driver in the front seat?
Stop it, you know what I mean? Huh?
Going down.
Anne Hathaway wasn't the only icon I was introduced to in this film. This was also the first time I learned about Sandra Oh. I know many of you would have assumed that I began to love Sandra Oh because of her portrayal as Christina Yang, and make no mistake, that certainly escalated it. But in actuality, my love of Sandra Oh began all the way back when she was in The Princess Diaries.
Oh, come on, girls. It's a ball, not a snake. Back in formation.
Oh, no, honey, I'm sorry. I was in a very important meeting. Send it out for dry cleaning.
Sandra Oh portrayed Vice Principal Gupta, who was a hilarious character right from her first introduction.
Morning, Miss Gupta.
Morning, Lily. Lily's friend?
Though her introduction may not have cast her in the most flattering light to an audience of young girls who are meant to relate most to Mia, her office meeting with Queen Clarisse is the scene where I truly fell in love with Sandra Oh. Her line delivery was of course excellent.
Here's your tea, Your Majesty. I'm sorry we don't have finer china.
But even the detail of her trying to mimic Queen Clarisse's body language is a seriously underrated comedic gem. As a child, it was a rare occasion that I got to see Asian women on screen that I could relate to, and even now Hollywood hasn't changed much in that department. But watching a beautiful and professional Asian woman standing Julie Andrews, yes, 100%, I related then and I relate now.
What is it like in Genovia, Your Majesty? Do people just fawn over you?
There is no one better to play a queen than Dame Julie Andrews because she doesn't even need to act to make the character believable because she is an actual queen.
And I am Queen Clarisse Renaldi. I'm late for a meeting with Spain and Portugal.
From her physicality, poise, her diction, and the warmth she exudes perfectly bring to life the regality of royalty and the intimacy of a loving grandmother. Raving about Julie Andrews is an easy, obvious thing to do. The only thing that's not realistic for me as a viewer is Mia's pushback against getting princess lessons from Queen Clarisse because I personally would jump at the opportunity to get princess lessons from Dame Julie Andrews.
I can teach you to walk, talk, sit, stand, eat, dress like a princess.
She has full permission at any time to boss me around in order to instruct me how best to be royal. She could yell at me and I would say, thank you for yelling at me today. The only other detail that I will mention about how iconic Queen Clarisse Renaldi is that she's not just a frequent visitor of the library, she built it from the ground up. She will read you to filth and still be the classiest one in the room. Anyone that can teach me how to further hone and refine my skills at throwing shade is a legend worthy of respect.
Charlotte, watch him like a hawk. You're not very good at lying, Charlotte.
Do you have any change?
No! It's not appropriate for royalty to jingle.
Would you like to slide in first?
No, I never slide.
Your Majesty, will you be visiting the White House? Your Highness, Your Majesty.
Are you taking the princess home?
How did you avoid that?
We had so much fun when we were here in college. He was so full of joie de vivre, always laughing.
Yeah, I touched that.
Yes, you touched that.
Yeah?
And then you just go.
Looks like Rupert's cousin from Liechtenstein. You look so young. Amelia, does your bad posture affect your hearing? Eyes, lovely. But hidden beneath bushman eyebrows. Oh, my. Who has nails like these? And I never want to see those shoes again. So we don't schlump like this. Princesses never cross their legs in public.
Queen Clarisse is also the supreme hustler, and the way she finessed her way out of Mia having to go downtown is a truly iconic moment that we should all learn from. She had these two eating out of the palm of her hand and even followed up on this scam by inviting them to Mia's royal party. I don't want anyone to misunderstand my content or presume that I'm only ever going to say nice things, even though I've made it very clear that I would like to subvert from this really disturbing trend of bashing things for the sake of bashing them. You can overall have more positive feedback for a work of fiction, but still have critiques of it. So before I delve into some of the other characters or themes, I'll drop a few of my critiques as an interlude of sorts. To be fair to this film, a lot of the only criticisms that I could come up with for it came from two factors. One, I rewatched it very closely because I knew that I wanted to do a review of it. And two, I have a stronger than average interest in film, so there's a lot of little details that I'm more likely to pick up on that a general viewer would not necessarily notice, nor would they care all that much about them. There's a few little technical issues, but realistically, it's understandable that some of those are going to come up now and again because putting a film together is a huge task involving so many moving parts, and I fully respect the fact that it is a lot of work to make a film. I am not someone that objects to product placement. I think it's a reasonable and understandable part of the process. Shooting a film can get very expensive and the money needs to come from somewhere. But in the scene where Paolo is giving Mia her makeover, they have this extended shot of the table which is covered in items from NARS Cosmetics, which simply isn't realistic. Anyone with a passion for makeup, let alone works professionally in that field, would have products spanning multiple brands on that table. Obviously, this is something that I am nitpicking at because I happen to have maybe an above average interest in makeup. Like I said, a casual viewer who doesn't pay all that much attention to makeup probably wouldn't notice, nor would they care about such a thing. This part where they're on the beach for the party, there's food on the beach, and I wanted to vomit because it probably would have gotten sand in it while sitting out for all those hours. Gross.
I don't like sand.
This scene with the paint balloons, you can see that Mia's dart goes right and does not pop a balloon, but the scene is edited to seem like Mia has finally popped one. This dinner scene where she splashes water to put out the fire that she started, they looped her shocked reaction twice from different shots. Some of the post-production audio that they've used is a little bit jarring, and again, this is something that I do not expect everyone to notice, nor do I expect them to care about. Post-production audio is something that I think I tend to have an issue with on practically every project. It's very difficult for me to watch a single episode of any television program without noticing very clearly when they've used post-production audio. I think it's a natural part of the process, but whatever, it's a thing that I noticed. Just so no one is mistaking me for someone who is incapable of critiquing something. This is an introduction video to me talking about film, so we'll just go through a few things. Here, they've clearly overlaid extra audio on the original footage of Josh and Lana.
I don't know what happened. I was just sitting there working on my speech. I don't understand why we had that.
I could be mistaken, but the line of "cover the tuba" sounds like it was said by Mandy Moore, but when you hear it, you can tell she wasn't saying it in the footage since her mouth doesn't match the audio.
Look out, she's gonna hurl. Cover the tuba.
The one final critique I have for this film has to do with my very personal experiences with the media. On the one hand, I find the depiction of the media as being highly parasitic and toxic to be very accurate, but many of these characters that have already been shown to be paparazzi are then given permission to attend an official royal event, and this is the detail that has me highly skeptical. This is not some Swedish song contest for regular television. This is Mia's royal event putting forth a monumental announcement related to whether or not she is going to accept or resign from the position of being the future queen of an entire country. Royalty have extremely strict policies about media access and the security involved. No way would these people that were stalking, harassing, and exploiting an underage girl be allowed into the building. In reviewing this film that I hold in very high regard, those were the only small criticisms that I had for the sake of well-roundedness. True to form of an American film set in high school, the trope of a hyperbolic mean girl is filled with Lana, portrayed by 90s pop darling Mandy Moore, and her Lanettes.
I'm Lana. Anna Fontana.
They did that girl so dirty, giving her a busted name like Fontana. Did they need to rhyme? No. They already have a pretty clear lack of identity since they're giving up any sort of individuality to be a follower of Lana. None of these characters are likable, but of course that's not the point of them. This scene where they're trying to bully Mia and Jeremiah drives me up the wall because you see them spotting the pair and huddling together to conspire as to how to best launch their attack. Then when they actually open their mouths,
Jeremiah and Mia. Oh, Maya and Mia.
So you mean to tell me that these fools went out of their way to have a conversation in which they decided that this was going to be their punchline, and they wanted to be sure that they could really rub it in by reciting it in unison? They're treating it like it's the most wicked burn that has ever been delivered in the history of bullying, and I'm just going to have to give them the L on that one. I will get back to the main point that I have to make about this villainous trio in a bit, but first I need to talk about the boys. I don't know what the general consensus is about the boys in the first Princess Diaries film. I haven't exactly seen a lot of discourse on it, so just sit back and when this is finished, comment down below of your thoughts on them because clearly this conversation is an important use of time. The popular guy trope comes to life with Josh Bryant. Thankfully, the Princess Diaries subverts from the trope of the popular guy being a trophy for the female protagonist and instead uses the character to tell a cautionary tale. Even here where Josh is pantomiming playing the piano while Michael is actually the one playing, can be symbolic of those who only look good on the surface level without the deeper substance to back it up. His narcissistic tendencies can be seen in his over-the-top displays to show off and demand attention, and no bloke wearing this much hair product needs to have an entire bottle of it stashed in his locker to reapply between courses. Put it away, Josh. He's also shown to be a liar and deliberately deceptive on the matter. This can be seen beginning with his conversation with Mia, where he invites her to the beach party and informs her of the dissolution of his relationship with Lana.
Because I broke up with her because of it, and I hate phony publicity seekers.
Fast forward to the beach party, and Mia is seemingly living the dream, something that's built up for years of having this schoolgirl crush. But when it comes down to the confrontation with the press, he completely contradicts himself.
And I hate phony publicity seekers.
No, stay!
Josh Bryant?
Josh!
One picture right here. Go to Grove High School.
He's not just a bad match for Mia, he's bad for everyone. No one deserves to be with someone that will be this self-obsessed and downright selfish.
No, actually, I mean, you give me one.
Josh? This isn't romantic.
Even before the beach fiasco, Mia's mother was wary of her pursuit of him.
Josh Bryant.
That Backstreet Boy clone you've had a crush on forever.
Excuse me! In this house, we do not slander the good name of the Backstreet Boys. I'm going to need you to take that back immediately. So often in these teenage coming-of-age films, parents are presented as another adversarial or a negligent presence to the young protagonist, but here we see a well-balanced depiction of motherhood. Mia can be embarrassed by her, and they bicker now and again, but ultimately Helen never worsens Mia's pain. She allows her the freedom to be upset when life becomes too much or veers off course entirely.
My mom always told me I couldn't cry and told me to be a big girl. You've been hurt, so you just cry, okay?
This brief interaction between mother and daughter is one that I really love, not only for the fact that Helen is being such an emotionally supportive mother, but because Mia roasted Josh just as he deserves.
It was really bad. My foot didn't even pop.
Now we move on to Michael Moskowitz. He's the brother of Mia's best friend Lily and is shown to have a crush on her even before she gets her princess glow up.
I'll do some labor free.
But here's where my opinion might get a bit controversial. I don't know what the general consensus is here on Michael, but I'll just say it right now. Michael ain't shit. When Michael finally musters up the courage to ask Mia to get together, she outright asks him.
Okay, well, just like a date?
No.
Fair enough, he doesn't want to risk putting too much out too soon without getting more of a sense of whether Mia reciprocates his feelings. But then when Mia asks to reschedule their plans since Josh has invited her to the beach party, she again is outright with him.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Multiple times Mia is giving him an opening to be forthcoming and he backs away every time. So then we fast forward to this scene, which really puts the nail in Michael's coffin for me. Mia tries to apologize again, having already called him repeatedly to do so, but wants to make the declaration in person. It's a mature way to handle interpersonal conflict. Keep in mind here that Mia has just been through a highly traumatic ordeal that no other regular student at her school would have to deal with, on top of the revelation that she's royalty and needs to decide whether to embark down a path of fully ruling an entire country. And one detail that many seem to forget is that all of this is happening shortly after her father died.
At least your dad's still alive.
Hey, I thought you're getting over that. It's been, what, 2 months?
Mia offers to make it up to Michael, invites him to the upcoming ball, and is even considerate of the potential insecurities he might have about the formality of the event.
You don't have to wear a tux. You can wear sweatpants for all I care, you know?
And what does this guy do in response? Keep in mind here that it's not just the fact that he says no, it's the way that he says no.
You don't worry about me. I just consider myself royally flushed.
Oh, and this right here, this sarcastic, smug little bow he does, ooh, it just makes me want to deck him. Further proof that Michael is trash, when Mia sends him this pizza, apologizing for the millionth time to him, listen to what he says to the pizza delivery man, who was nothing but polite and friendly, by the way.
You don't make the pizza. No, I just deliver them.
Whoa, okay, judgy. Was that really necessary? If he was going to be the one making pizza, I'm sure that they would have some type of protocol in place involving him wearing a face mask, but to just lower it so it covers his chin and everything would be hygienic and he would do his job. Mate, you live in San Francisco. You cannot tell me that this is the first time that you've seen someone with an eccentric personal sense of style. Michael finally decides to accept Mia's apology because he's trash and needed Mia to excessively grovel to earn his forgiveness. Trash. So he shows up at the ball, they make up, and yada yada yada, our female protagonist gets the guy. But hold up. Listen very closely to this exchange.
Why me?
Because you saw me when I was invisible.
Mia, do you know what avid Twitter users call what you just said in 2018? They call it bare minimum Twitter. They call it pick me Twitter. The bar is on the floor. This is probably one of the most overlooked messages to take away from the film. Spoiler alert, these two do not work out. In the sequel, this boy is gone because Mia is a woman of the world and she can do so much better than this. Too many films, particularly ones geared towards young adolescents, put this idea in your head that the love of your life is someone found in your youth. And that is terrible advice. There is a big world out there full of better options more suited to you, not just romantically, but in regards to friendship, career, all the aspects of your life.
Choices.
Really, if we're just going off of this film, there is another boy that has been overlooked for far too long that is a much better option than either of these two bozos that I've just dragged. Jeremiah Hart is introduced as the boy who is crushing on Lily. He's the cutest boy in this film, has the best hair. Is his love of doing magic tricks a little cringe? Maybe. But it's San Francisco. It's the 21st century. We should all be free to indulge in an eccentric hobby. He's not hurting anyone with a few card tricks. Also, listen to the dialogue in this scene.
Well, my portfolio's increased by 30% since last quarter.
Your portfolio has increased by 30%? Let me remind you that this film is taking place in the Bay Area, and do you know what is in the Bay Area? Literally every big tech company's headquarters. Google, Netflix. Why is the film making the main boy subplot happening between two rotten apples when there's this snack waiting for some good loving? And he's probably busy inventing the next big social media or a major app that will take over once mobile phones become a staple of developed lifestyles. Now, obviously, I am not saying that Mia should have been with Jeremiah in this film. He was interested in Lily, and pursuing him would have absolutely violated the girl code since she seemed to have eventually warmed to him. But objectively speaking, Jeremiah was the best boy in this film, and those are the facts. Now, I said that I would get back to Lana and her minions, and this is where we really hit the central brilliance of The Princess Diaries as a film. Lana is not the main villain of the film, just as Michael is not the main prize. Throughout the film, Mia goes on a journey from being riddled with self-doubt and insecurity to finding her voice, gaining confidence, and the freedom to live her best life. She's able to find her way as a young girl shifting towards adulthood and is offered some tremendously excellent advice from all of the people in her life that love her and have her best interest in mind. And all of these lessons are ones that make for excellent takeaways by the audience, no matter the age of the viewer.
Can you see me walking one step behind someone for the rest of my life?
I can't do this. I'm a girl. What am I, a duck?
May I point out that no matter how many times you push it, it will go up and down the same way. I've never put on pantyhose, but it sounds dangerous. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
How can I tell if I can even do the job?
By simply trying.
Eleanor Roosevelt said that.
Yes. Another special lady like yourself.
Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear.
Wow is having the power to affect change, make people listen. How many teenagers have that power? What more of a miracle do you want?
The brave may not live forever, but the cautious do not live at all.
People think princesses are supposed to wear tiaras, marry the prince, always look pretty and live happily ever after. Manners matter. The quickest way to a Spanish heart is dance. But it's so much more than that. It's a real, job.
So that's about all I have for you today. Let me know what you thought of this video. I spent a lot of time on it, as I'm sure you could tell. Please leave me comments to let me know what you think, what films you would like for me to cover next, although I do have a long list of films that I'm debating making videos on. If you did enjoy what you've just seen, be sure to give it a like and share it with anybody else that needs to be further educated on how brilliant The Princess Diaries is. There were a lot of other things that I could have delved into, such as how amazing of a fashion icon Lily is with all her different hairstyles, as well as how much I love the film's soundtrack, and even the hilariously nostalgic detail about the charm bracelet, because that is such a staple of that era. Oh wow, that really took me back.
Here is your friendship charm. I'm taking it off and it's going in the dirt.
Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads. And just in case anybody didn't know this already, I have now made a Patreon. So if you feel like showing your support in that way, the lowest tier is $1 a month. That, along with my social medias, will be posted in the description box. But that'll be it for now. So until next time, this is LadyJenevia signing off.
More roses. Red, white, mauve. Mauve.